I've uploaded an article and adjective practice worksheet to this week's optional content just for your benefit. And while these verses will have articles and adjectives in them and ones that you'll be able to identify after you work through the material from this week, it's also just to give you practice or have you see how I would work through a verse and give you some practice doing that as well, like putting all of the pieces together. So where do we start? There's many places you could start. I think a good place to start is by noticing all of the prepositional phrases and all of the articles. And then you can kind of see what are the other nouns, verbs, other larger words that you have to deal with. So I would go into accordance here, and I have Matthew 4:5 already pulled up. And I would want to search for particular kinds of words. So I would go in here into my search bar and I would enter a tag, and let's just start with prepositions. We're not going to choose an object case. We want to see all the prepositions. So we say okay and search. Now, it's taken us away from Matthew again. So we will go to Matthew. Let's do this. It accidentally selected Matthew. And we'll just scroll down to 4 or 5. How about that? I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. But if you are doing the long way, this is the way to do it. So what you'll notice in Matthew 4:5 are there two prepositions, ace and epi. So let's go into our worksheet and mark them. Ace in, let's do red, and epi in red. Now you could also just look through all of the words and find the prepositions using the parsing tool. But sometimes if you're working with a longer passage, this is a better way to go. So let's again go into search. Let's see here. So let's go up here and click on just your search bar and then go back into search, enter a tag, and article is what we're after. We don't care about any of the parsing. We want all the articles, so we just hit OK and enter. What you can see is that often these just show up in square brackets, so sometimes it will be easier just to type square brackets and the word article in it. Let's actually go down here, down a chapter to chapter 4, and then we'll go to 4:5. And here are all the articles that are in our, so ha, tain, ta, tu. Now, you'll start to begin to get suspicious of which words are articles just because they all are 1, 2, or 3 letters long. So it's pretty easy to spot them. We'll put those in blue. And tain. And where was the other one? 2. There it is. And we'll talk about these usages. Now, what we have left then, for the most part, are nouns and verbs and adjectives in this sentence. So let's start by searching for the verb. Now, you could go back in and search for verbs if you wanted to, but this is a short enough passage now. We can just hold our mouse over the words and look at the parsings. And lo and behold, the second word is a verb. And it's an indicative verb, third person singular, present active indicative, third person singular, for take, to take. So the third person singular is important because that tells us something about the subject of this verb, because subjects and verbs match in their parsing as far as third person singular. So we're looking for a singular subject, third person. So not I or you, but a something other. And so here's one of our verbs. I'm just going to go in and mark it as we do it. I'll go ahead and highlight the verbs in yellow. And then our other verb, you of course would scroll through here and say, oh, estasen, another third person singular aorist active indicative. And so coming into your worksheet, here's our other verb. There's only 2 verbs. Now, you would actually have to go through and just confirm that with all your with all the parsing. You can go through word by word and kind of make notes on all the parsing. This is a noun, this is a verb, this is a adjective. Or you can do it like we're doing it now and just say, where are all my verbs and where are all my nouns? And let me see here, kai. There's 2 words in here. Kai is our and word, joining clauses. And so we expect the first clause to have a subject and verb and the second clause to have a subject and verb. Now, both of our verbs parsed as third person singular, so they probably maybe have the same subject. So we may not see a second subject in the last part of the verb because it may be the same subject as the first part of the verb. And once again, sometimes verses won't have subjects. They'll be implied. They'll be in the verb, if you will. That is, in the flow of the story, we know who we're talking about, and so they can just reference it by the form of the verb instead of actually putting the subject in each verse. And the other word is this little particle then, an adverb. And so that's not one that you're going to necessarily know, and we don't really talk about adverbs in this class. There will be a few things that are kind of uncommon. And so, but it just simply translates then, some kind of time marker here. So we have then, a verb about taking. And then we come to our first, well, pronoun technically, but a noun of some kind. And what we'll notice is it's accusative. So it's accusative, we think, not the subject. Our first impulse is to say direct object. So well, let's just hold that. Maybe he is the direct object of the taking. Somebody takes him. Now, we don't actually, if we don't know the story, we don't know who the him is. We'd have to read Matthew 4, 1-4 to find out who the him is. But somebody takes him. And then we have ha diaboles. Diabolos. Ha diabolos. And what you notice about this parsing is that it is nominative, masculine singular. So we have a good candidate for our subject. Unless there's another nominative masculine singular noun in this first phrase, we're probably good as far as assuming this is the subject. Because what we would be looking for is maybe a noun in apposition to this, or maybe this is in apposition to something else. But we know it's not going to be a predicate nominative because our verb is not a to be verb, it's the took verb. It's not the is verb, it's the took verb. So it wouldn't, this verb wouldn't take a predicate nominative. And so diabolos would be either subject or in apposition to the subject. But this next word that we marked in our paper is a preposition. So I am going to just assume everything that follows the preposition up until the kai that divides the clauses is going to be the prepositional phrase. So, given all of that, I don't see another nominative noun. I'm going to say this is our subject, and it is the word for enemy, adversary, or the devil. The enemy takes him. the enemy takes him. So that's going to be the main noun, subject, object pairing. So if we go back to our worksheet, this is going to be our direct object, and I'm just going to choose some random colors. This is our subject, so we're going to highlight that in blue. And then all of this is a prepositional phrase. And if we go back in here, the devil takes him. Oh, look, it's our preposition to, into, if it's with the accusative, or for sometimes. So to would make sense. He takes him to someplace, a direction towards. And where are they going? Here's an article. Here's an adjective. And here's our noun. City, holy city, and an article that goes with that. And so you're going to want to translate all articles as the, not a good idea. Maybe, maybe not. What kind of article is this? Well, this one just happens to be acting just as an article. This also just acting as an article. Holy is an attributive adjective for city. So the holy city, to the holy city. The devil takes him to the holy city. And what does he do? Here's our other verb. Places. Once again, accusative, pronoun, probably the direct object of places, places him, and then we have another prepositional phrase. So going back to our worksheet, places him, another accusative noun, and then we're going to finish up with another prepositional phrase. Where does he place him? He places him, he places him on, upon, over, on, at, the time of, at, to. But usually if you just hold your marker over the preposition, you will see a good translation for that preposition. He places him on, and here we have a noun, accusative singular. He places him on the highest point, and then we're going to have a genitive noun, that is temple. The temple would be some description describing the highest point. It's the highest, it's possessive, really, the highest point of the temple. The temple's highest point, you could say. And what you have here are you have articles functioning as articles here, and a prepositional phrase that tells us where he is placed. And so just to summarize, our subject is the enemy. He does two things. He takes him. This is a present indicative, and I would say a historic present. We're in a narrative. This other one is an aorist indicative. It's probably past tense, but it's being vivid. So he took him, really, the devil, to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple. So genitive because it's describing pinnacle. Pinnacle is accusative because it's the object of the preposition. Him is accusative because it's the direct object. City is accusative because it's the object of the preposition ace. This is an attributive adjective. Diabolos is nominative because it's the subject. Him is accusative because it's the direct object. And this present indicative verb is probably a historic present. So one verse, putting the pieces together. There's two more verses. Try it on your own, and you can compare it to what I have in the answer key.